If you or someone that you know takes regular medication, you need to know this. Just remembering to take meds can be stressful. Missing a dose or doubling up can be dangerous or reduce effectiveness. But your local Blooms the Chemist offers a free packing service designed to help you take the right dose on time, every time. So you can carry on with other things without wondering, "Oh, did I?" Like listening to this podcast. Blooms the Chemist. Share good health.
We know that you guys can find moving house really stressful. It can be a little bit like herding cats to make sure all the boxes are in the right place, the removalists know where to go, and everything is set up at your new house so on your first night you can sleep calmly and in peace.
Moving throws almost every single element of our lives into disarray. A moment of good energy amidst the madness can only be a good thing.
Origin Energy has power on next business day when you sign up before 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Call 13MOVE or search Origin Moves. Origin, good energy.
Residential electricity customers only. Must provide safe access to the electricity meter, excludes public holidays, and availability criteria applies. Good morning.
Good afternoon.
Good evening.
Wherever you're listening to us. Hello, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty.
And we're the Art of Decluttering, which you know because you totally just clicked on our podcast link.
Did you know that I'm the one with the blonde hair? Kirsty's the one with the blonde hair?
Yeah, and Amy's the one with the curly... I don't know
curly
what colour's my hair.
Brown?
Sounds like a really boring colour to have.
It's brown.
It's brown.
Sometimes it has blonde highlights.
Sometimes if
or
I'm
like caramel.
regular. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I went to a client the other day and she said when I turned up, she was trying to guess whether I was the blonde one or the dark one. So when you have Kirsty come in Sydney, you get the blonde one. And when you get Melbourne, you get the dark one. Just FYI.
Yeah. I just thought we'd let you know because, you know, if you're not on our Facebook community, you don't see Facebook Lives or see us in live in person, then you may always be wondering, I see this photo every week when I look at my podcast, but I don't know who's who. Well, now you know.
I wear glasses too, if that's helpful.
There's so many other physical attributes that we could talk about.
Yeah, we're not going to.
We're not going to. We are going to talk about a survey. We're so overwhelmed by the response of people. We're so thankful that you took the time to respond to the survey and give us all the feedback that we asked for. We're so appreciative. It is
so much feedback.
Yeah.
I reckon it took me maybe 6 or 7 hours to put all the feedback into what we now have. So you're going to hear heaps of paper shuffling in this episode. We usually try and keep that to a minimum, but we have we're going to take a photo actually and we'll put it up on the Facebook community of all the graphs and the data and all the highlighting bits. So there's lots of paper being moved around in this session.
And we actually really prepared for this episode.
Well, they prepared for us, Kirst. We didn't do a lot of the work.
You just said you did 6 hours of work.
of data accumulation.
Yeah. So, but we wanted to say thank you because we really appreciate everybody who did fill out the survey. So thank you.
So what we might start with is talking about who you are. Now, obviously, for every survey, there's a bell curve. There's going to be outliers. And we do have an outlier that we'll talk about coming up that just made us laugh a lot when we were looking at the feedback. But let's give you some of the overarching statistics and where the height of the bell curve is for a lot of these type of things. So 70% of you are aged between 35 and 54. And so are we. We're in that age gap too. So
Speak
it's
for yourself.
Nice to be there.
I just said to Amy, I did not just turn 42. I turned 32. I'm happy to be 42. I'm happy to sit in the bell.
We're in the bell. 97% of you identify as female. That's huge. 97.
But not unusual.
No.
Which we will go into later. 68% of you are partnered with children under 18.
So are we.
Yes. And 74% of you are Australian.
Yay.
But 100% of us here in the studio are Australian.
Yes, we are. And we got lots of feedback about our accents, which we've said before we've been working on for 40 years. And we're glad that they tickle your ears.
Tickle. But we do have 12 currently from the people who filled in the survey, which we're very, very thankful for. But that I was actually thinking it was only like 1% of our listeners filled out the survey, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But only 1%.
Yeah, so it was still over 150.
Yes, but it's still only a small sample size. That was my point, that it's a
agreed.
small sample size. So 12% of you are from the US. Woo, woo.
Yay. 1% replied from Italy, 1% from Germany, 1% from Scotland, 1% from Ireland, 1% from Darwin. I don't know how Darwin ended up in our international. But there you go.
And funnily enough, between New South Wales and Victoria, there's a 2% variance going my way. 27% more people, well, 27% of people who listen to us who are from Australia.
No, 27% of all people that replied
are
in New South Wales and 25% of Victoria. So come on, Vic.
No.
Bring it home.
There are more people in New South Wales than Victoria.
Yes, that's true. You're way more popular than me. She's the blonde one, just so you know.
And 86% of you follow us on Facebook.
Yay, that should be 100%. If you have social media, come and follow us.
But that's the point, isn't it? That maybe the 14% who said they don't have opted out of Facebook.
Yeah.
Lucky you.
81% of you are in our Facebook community, which is awesome. That's our favourite place to hang out.
Yay.
64% of you follow us on Instagram. Up your game. Come and follow us, particularly those that are on the left-hand side of the bell curve and are perhaps under 45. You may be more into Insta. Come and join us. We do stories most days and we're increasing our engagement on Insta as we speak.
Yes. So lots of you do use Facebook and Instagram, and then the next most popular thing is YouTube.
Did you know that you can listen to our podcast on YouTube?
Yes. Yes. Come and listen to us on YouTube. The last few episodes aren't on YouTube, but
they might be by the time this episode drops.
They might be.
So there's you can't watch us on YouTube, but you can listen. So there's just a static image and you can listen. So if you can't quite get to your podcast app or you're trying to show someone, you can always just Google the Art of Decluttering podcast and you can watch us on YouTube.
Yay.
Talking of podcasts.
Yeah, speaking of podcasts, we asked you how many different podcasts you listen to and what were they? And Slow Your Home ranked number 1.
By far.
Yeah, by far, because thanks to Brooke, that's how lots of you are listening to the Art of Decluttering. So thank you again, Brooke.
And if you are from Slow Home, if you're one of our Slow Home listeners, go back and listen to episode 100 and 101 where we interview Brooke. And coming up, I believe next week or the week after, is an interview that Brooke did with Kirsty that will be airing. So it's going to be a Brooke couple of months. So enjoy that.
Yeah. Chatters ranked here too.
They totally did.
I love Chatters. I'm one of you. I'm a chatter.
Out Louders ranked. I'm an out louder.
I'm not an out louder.
Yeah, I'm not a chatter.
So Happier with Gretchen Rubin, which is exciting because we are trying to get Gretchen on the podcast.
Well, she said yes. We just need to figure out a time.
Yes.
And interestingly, 7% of you don't listen to any other podcast than ours.
That was crazy.
I know. I just feel like that's pretty privileged position for us. 67% of you listen to between 1 and 5 different podcasts per week. I reckon I fall into that category. Oh, no, I probably don't, let's be honest.
I fall into that category.
You do.
Amy listens to 675 million different podcasts each week. I don't know. She's one of these crazy people who can listen and do work.
Yes.
I cannot. It has to be silent. I can't even have music playing.
I can't have music playing either, though. And actually, I don't listen to podcasts while I work. I listen to podcasts while I do everything other than working.
Yeah.
So driving to a client, lying in bed for a rest, going for a walk, doing anything around the house, there's a podcast on. I actually Netflix a lot when I work, so I can listen to a TV show, but I can't listen to a podcast. But I do. I would say I probably listen to 3-ish podcasts per day.
That's amazing.
So, I do. And sometimes more. Yesterday, I probably listened to 6 or 7.
I listen to podcasts when I'm driving to clients, and that's about it because my kids don't like me listening to podcasts.
Yeah, see, I rarely have my children in the car, so I get my kids are like, Wendell, I don't ever have them in the car, just them and me.
Yeah.
They walk to school, they walk home from school, and then when we go to basketball, it's all of us. It's a whole family, and we're not listening to my podcast.
I'm in the car or like loads during the week, so with the kids, and we listen to music.
Nice.
So, or we try and chat. But yes, I'm just looking down the other ones of here that I like, some of the other podcasts that I do listen to. So there is This Organised Life and Be Uncluttered and Philosophy. So
yeah, there was, and I actually, as I went through it, I added some of them to my podcast listening because I was like, well, if 12 of our people listen to this, I want to add it to my podcast. So I'm starting to listen to a few of them too. I think there was one called "There's No Such Thing as Fish." Is that what it's called?
I don't know.
Can you see
it's
that?
Not on. It didn't make our.
Oh, it's not on the list. I'm sure it's on the list.
Oh, it's not on this list.
Oh.
Your cut down version of the list.
Yeah. So these results, I've trimmed the far ends of the bell curve.
So why do you listen? Why do people listen to us?
Oh, for some really good reasons. These are the 3 ones that came out on top for the tips and tricks that we give, for motivation in their own decluttering journey, and for inspiration. And I think that's awesome. They're really some of the key areas we try and hit each and every episode.
I do like that 20%, 23% of people listen for the company of us.
Yeah.
That's good.
I quite like your company.
People on whole, like 37% of you listen, never miss it. It's just so awesome.
I know.
How cool.
And 34% listen to almost every episode. And 97% of you, when you do listen to the entirety of the episode. So you're not like getting halfway through and going, turn that one off, or listening to the first few minutes to try and gauge. 97% of you listen from start to finish.
And 74% of you are totally satisfied with the informative content.
And this is where our outlier comes in.
So
we just
hold on.
love this.
23% of people are somewhat satisfied, and we will get into more of that later, because we do want to talk about the feedback and what we are going to address from the feedback, like what we're going to change, if we're going to change, and what we think about some of the feedback. So we'll get into the more specific feedback later on in the episode. But yes, 23% of you are somewhat satisfied. And here's our outlier that made us giggle.
So there was a sliding scale from neutral, somewhat satisfied, and totally unsatisfied on quite a few of the questions. And there was one outlier who took the time to fill in the survey who clearly does not like our podcast. How much do you listen to? Only the first few minutes. How do you feel about the content? Totally unsatisfied. How is it applicable to your life? Totally unsatisfied.
So thank you.
How often do you listen? Never. Like, it was just...
Thank you so much, that person. We really appreciate you. We need you at the end of the bell curve. You make the bell curve.
Oh, it was very funny.
So thank you. I honestly want... I'm not being facetious. Thank you so much for taking 10 minutes out of your day to fill in a survey that clearly you don't care for the content of the survey. So thank you.
Yeah, so we've got our outlier at 1% on everyone, because it was just one person. The same person didn't like anything.
Can't please anybody. Everybody.
Cannot.
Sometimes you can't please anyone. How did they hear about us, Ames?
Mostly word of mouth, which is awesome. We are so grateful that you spread the word and you say to your friends, oh my gosh, you should listen to this great podcast. Word of mouth was 16% and Apple Podcasts was 16%, which means that you're finding it in your app. Other podcast apps are where you're finding it, so it's coming up as a suggested to listen. And 24%, which was the highest, found us on social media. So we're very, very glad that you found us there. We love being on social because that's where we get to hang with you, our peeps.
Yay!
What about what day we release it, Kirst?
59% of you enjoy the Monday, although the 12% that wanted it on the Sunday, maybe they're the Americans who do get it on a Sunday.
Yes, I think it is, because we've had quite a few of our international listeners say because we drop it 12 a.m. our time, they get it Sunday night their time.
Or Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, so I think that they're
Sunday
enjoying
morning
that.
even, depending on where they live in the States. So they get to declutter with fresh content, whereas everybody else has to do it on their gym, walk, commute, cleaning the house on a Monday.
56% of you listen on Apple Podcasts, which is not surprising. That is the most popular podcast forum. Excuse the papers flying around. Once we've read through a sheet, we're throwing it on the floor. We're making an almighty mess.
Amy's like totally going, flick.
Yeah, Kirsty's being much more sensible in how she discards the paper.
So most people, 82% of you, are totally satisfied with just one episode dropping a week. But we do have that totally unsatisfied person.
They're
sitting
there.
right there.
Yeah, they've also said they're totally unsatisfied with the quality of the information, totally unsatisfied with the frequency of guests, totally unsatisfied with the quality of information of guests, totally unsatisfied with advertising, totally unsatisfied with our humour, totally unsatisfied with the length of our show, totally unsatisfied with the relevance of topics, and totally unsatisfied with our show notes.
Thank you so much, Amy, for including that person. Yeah, thanks. Okay, so but back onto the majority of people, they do like us being dropped every week.
And 78% of you like the quality of the information, which is good.
Yeah, and again, we will get back to the somewhat satisfied. And
because we've got some long form answers too, so we'll go into that. We're just going to give you we're giving you the quick overview of the stats. For all of you that love stats like me, this is the best part of the podcast, and then we'll go into the long form in a minute,
which will be my best part.
Yeah.
60% of you are satisfied with the quality of our guests.
Excellent. We like our guests too.
Yay.
Interestingly, this is what I really liked, is 32% of you were totally satisfied with the advertisement. 29% were somewhat satisfied. So that's over 60% really.
And 28% were neutral. So they didn't hate the ads.
Exactly.
So thank you, because we appreciate the advertisement and the ability to be able to come in here and record because of the advertisement.
I love this, Kirst. 119 people were totally satisfied with the humour. I mean, we had our outlier.
Of course. Thank you, outlier.
But that's good. I don't know if that means that they actually think it's any good. They're just satisfied.
No. And and some people were unsatisfied because they think.
Where's that? Oh, yeah, two people were somewhat
unsatisfied because probably the people who think that I'm giggling inappropriately at inappropriate times. And we will get onto that in our long form feedback soon.
86, oh, you're such a goose. 86% of people were totally satisfied with the length of our show, which is great. We actually don't set a timer at all when we record episodes. We just go with the flow when we want to get the information out. So we're never on a timer. That's why some episodes are 20 minutes, some episodes are 40 minutes. It really is. We want to get across the content, so we're not time sensitive. And that's the beautiful thing about podcasts. There's no one saying you have a 30-minute slot. So we're glad that you're satisfied.
Yay. And 73% of you are totally satisfied with the relevance of the topics. And again, we will get into that in our long form feedback as well.
And the last one on this page is the show notes. And this was a really interesting feedback. So 39% of you are totally satisfied and 38% were neutral. So what we're assuming is for the 38% is you possibly don't use the show notes. I don't use the show notes on most podcasts I listen to. I so rarely ever go to a show note. So I would mark neutral. So that's an assumption that we're making. It may not be correct, but that those of you that do use it are satisfied. So Kirsty, thank you for all the work you do on the show notes, because you do 100% of that, and I'm grateful.
Well, some people aren't.
No, they were neutral.
I go, but then you didn't talk about the people who are unsatisfied and totally unsatisfied.
How many people?
2.
Okay. Let's call that an outlier.
Yes, they're both outliers. And if you ever do want more information like we had, then just send us a PM or give us, tag us on Facebook and ask for more information, because there are sometimes that we miss the information because, we're recording this in November, but when we do the show notes, it could be February. Not for this episode because this one's being released next week, but, there can be things, or like when I'm doing the show notes, I could miss something that we talk about that somebody might want And so I apologize. I'm sorry if they're not as good as they could be. And I am the opposite to you, funnily enough, Amy, because I look at show notes all the time. When somebody mentions something, I'm like, click on the show notes and click. Let me click through to that.
All right.
So,
of course, we're different.
Strangely enough, we're the opposites.
This was a really encouraging stat. How often do you skip the ads? 47% said never.
Yay!
So thank you, because that really does help. So the reason we have ads in our podcast is so that we can fund the creation of the podcast. So many of you know Kirsty flies down from Sydney. We hire a studio. We have a sound engineer. So all of that costs money. So even though for you, the end user, the content is free, it's not free to create. And so by having sponsors being able to come into the podcast, that makes it free for you.
Yeah. And yes, we do have a business that we run, but so do other professional organisers, and they're not creating a podcast. So all their profit goes back to them. Yep. And a lot of our profit
goes to here.
Goes into the making of a podcast.
And then we had the question, how do you think we should fund the podcast? 42% of you said through advertisers, and 24% of you said through our services and products, which is perfect because that's exactly what we do. And we're really glad that you align with that and hear our heart in that we do have our advertisers, and we also have like our Head, Heart and Home course and our Christmas course and different things available. So that is how we do it, and I think that's how we'll continue to do it.
Yes, for the foreseeable future. We asked about our engagement on social media, and 92 of you, which equates to 63% of you, are totally satisfied that we are engaging on social media.
We try our best.
We do try our best. We are going to up our game somewhat in
with all
2020.
our free time, Kirst.
Yeah. Well, if we weren't making a podcast, we'd have more time to be on social media.
Let's sleep with the podcast. We did ask if you would attend the live show. 63% of you said yes, but most people said absolutely if you come to Ireland. Totally, come to Japan. And so we've been talking about a live show for over 12 months. Keep your ear to the ground for when and how that happens
in 2020.
Yeah.
Right. So then we asked people for specific feedback on the show. And it was, you could answer however you wanted. And we asked for feedback on Amy and I. So we're going to talk about all of them now.
It was like having a, what are they called when you, when people have jobs with managers?
Yes.
And you go in and you have a review.
Yeah. Yes.
It's like having one of those, but with 156 people or however many people applied. Just everyone give us your feedback.
Yeah.
It was great.
And we're so thankful. Again, cannot say it enough. We were so grateful for it. And yes.
So we're going to address some of the things. Some of you had specific questions and specific feedback. We are going to try and take some time to reply by email to some of you that had specific questions. But what we thought is we'd hit the more common themes.
Yeah, the themes that came out.
And then we also have some beautiful feedback that we're going to read out just to bolster our own egos pretty much.
So our overwhelming feedback for the show and ourselves is that you love this podcast. So thank you. And you love us. So thank you. We absolutely love creating it each and every week, except it's not each and every couple of months when we come down. When I come down, we love creating it, and we love and value and appreciate all of you who listen, whether you're satisfied or not, whether you love everything, or you skip the ads, or you skip Kirsty when she's being silly, or Amy when she's being loud, whatever, however you do it. So it was really lovely to be encouraged in that way, to keep going and to keep doing this podcast, because some days doing business is hard, and we never want to stop doing this podcast, but life's hard sometimes, so it's always nice to be encouraged.
We thought we would go into a little bit of detail about how our partnership with Acast works. So Acast is our platform host that hosts our podcast for us, and they organise 99% of our advertising as well. So we thought we'd go into how that works, just so you get a bit of an idea of the advertising and what we have our hands in and what we hand over to Acast. So if you hear an ad that has our voices in it, obviously we know the ad's airing because we recorded it. And you may hear that ad multiple weeks in a row or over multiple episodes. And the reason for that is that's how the ad agency processes an ad, is they say, hey, we want you to do an ad, Kirsty and Amy, and then they'll play it over, like on TV. You'll see an ad that's repeated a couple of times to reinforce.
So it means also that we just give back to Acast and the sponsors the one ad. They don't ask us to create 5 different ads that look different and sound different. They just want the one ad. So yes, some people have said, oh, it'd be good to, we don't mind hearing the ads, but it gets a bit repetitive when it's the same ad. So we cannot do anything about that. And yes, it might be repetitive of our own ads. But again, we, to be efficient in our recording days, we just record the one ad and just play it when we deem appropriate.
And if you hear an advert that isn't our voices, that's possibly a geo-targeted ad. So that means if you're in Scotland, you'll hear an ad that's for Scotland. If you're in the US, you'll hear an ad for the US. Sometimes you may not hear any ad at all. Maybe you're listening from Somalia or the Pacific Islands, and you may not have a particular ad in your episode. And these are geo-targeted, and we have handed that over, and we trust Acast to best serve you as a listener and to best serve us as podcast hosts.
So yeah, by all means, say if you have a complaint, you can always bring it to us, but we have no control over those ads that are not read by us.
Yeah. Well, we've handed that over to
Yes.
Acast. Our control is we've given it to them because we trust them.
The Honda 2019 build clearance is now on. Pick up an adventure-ready CRV or a versatile HRV and get free 7-year warranty and premium roadside assist plus more. Offer valid on 2019 builds while stocks last. So visit your Honda dealer today. Legal stuff applies.
So one of the things that we found so fascinating in the personal feedback, like all the the time that you took to write and give us some things on things that we could improve, was that for everything that somebody hated or disliked or wanted us to improve, somebody else loved it equally. So we had 2 questions like, what do you love about the show and what things could we improve? And when we looked at the improved category, often we found the same thing in the love category. So just going back to the things that we can't please everybody, and we're sorry that we're not sorry. Everybody's unique and different, and what you find interesting, somebody finds boring, and what you find boring, somebody else finds value in. So as a general rule, we are just going to continue being us, and we're going to continue to do it how we've been doing it. We are definitely going to seek to improve things and seek to improve us and do what we can do to improve our show. But yeah, there's only so much that we can control. So on that note, lots of people have said that they want more practical tips and that we do waffle a lot.
Can I address the waffle?
Yes. I love waffles.
Yeah,
I'm hungry
think
now.
That this is I think that what is perhaps interpreted by some people as the waffle is really just us being friends and us enjoying spending time together. And we don't have a scripted show. So we'll have, how it works is we have a page that has maybe 5 or 6 dot points of things we'd like to try and cover. We don't always cover those. And we just talk. We don't have examples written down. We don't have experiences written down. We just go with it. This is what we do every day, and we love it, and we live and breathe it. And it is a conversation. So if you imagine you sitting and chatting with a friend, there are moments of waffle. And unless we go to a scripted show, which we're totally not going to do because that takes away from who we are, there's sometimes going to be tangents. There's sometimes going to be a little bit of a waffle, but we do appreciate that it's important that we come back to topic. And so we are intentional about that going forward.
Yes, and we thank you for that feedback because we do want to come back onto the topic. Speaking of which, so people want some more practical tips, but some people don't want to be overwhelmed by too many practical tips. So, and this is again coming back to the varying differences that we have in our community. Some people write at the start of their decluttering journey and love the first 20 episodes of ours that really speak to specific rooms, and they're really gung-ho and really, they're really keen and eager. And then some people are on their journey, are in the overwhelmed stage and just need one gold nugget from each episode. So we hope that we give you at least one gold, and we just ask for your graciousness when we do go off tangent and maybe don't come back around. When you're having a conversation, this might lead on to the next topic actually. When you're having a conversation with your girlfriend and you never get circled back around to that one thing that you were really excited about, but the kids came and interrupted it, or whatever. We know that that's frustrating. When I get frustrated with that when I'm in conversation, and then you're driving home and you're like, I never ended up hearing the end of that story. So we are sorry for that. However, because we are best friends and we are in the studio and we are not time conscious and we're not reading off a script, then that's the nature of this podcast. Yep. And we don't really apologize too much for the nature of our podcast.
That's right. We just want to let you know that you're heard. And I think one of the big feedback that we were talking about even just last night is that we felt seen by those of you that gave feedback, as we thought, you know what, they really understand. The feedback for Kirsty was different to the feedback for me. And we really liked that because they understood how different we are. They understood our strengths and weaknesses, and they're not trying to make us like each other. So Thank you for those of you that saw us. We felt seen.
We definitely did.
As you would have heard a little bit earlier on, 97% of those of you that filled in our feedback were female. 97%, interestingly, exactly the same number. I had a look on our Facebook page. 97% are women. And so we are women speaking majority to women. And so when we do female focused language, that's not an intentional, we want to cut out the men or cut out people that don't identify as female. It's just purely our world. And so we are trying to make sure we expand that, because we do have different clients. Just in the last 14 days, 2 of my clients were transgender. And so we do have a variety of clients that look differently, identify differently, but 97% of you are women. And what was the stat we said before? That was actually women with children under 18.
Yeah.
So it's high. So we're not trying to exclude you, but we are 2 women speaking to majority of women, but everyone's invited.
Yeah, everybody is invited. And on that, our business, and what our business is family focused and working, and we work with women mostly in our business too. Yep. So again, we're not exclusive in our business. We definitely work with men. I worked with a 15-year-old boy this week. It was awesome. But that is our target market for our business as well, is families, and helping families to be less overwhelmed and less cluttered. So that is why our focus, and not our only focus, but the majority of our focus is on tips and tricks for that demographic and that slice of the pie. So we love all of you. We're so thankful for the males who listen to us, who get motivated and inspired by us. And we're thankful for the single people, and thankful for older people and younger people. We just love everybody who listens to us. And we are going to be doing some shows in 2020 that don't capture the audience of women with young children.
Yeah. And I think more and more, lots of people that are listening to us are single females. I've now that the papers are all on the floor, I can't go back and tell you the exact number because it's somewhere down there. But there are increasingly a lot of single women, which we love, and we work with a lot of single women as well.
Yes.
A lot of you gave us feedback about the sound quality. We are working with our amazing sound engineer to get tips on how we can use the equipment better so that we speak more clearly and we do all the right things. And we are speaking to Acast about the ad quality, because some of you said that it's really so quiet that you can barely hear it. So that has been taken on, and we'll be doing everything we can to make that more enjoyable for you. But there was also feedback how much it's improved over the last couple of years as well.
thank you for that feedback. We didn't need that feedback because we know. Like we are, I often tell people, like people go, oh, what episode should I listen to? And I want to say kitchen because they might need help in their kitchen, but I'm like, no, go listen to the kitchen. It's such poor quality. But we know so many of you will, start listening to us and then go back to the start and listen and love it. And so we're again coming back to that idea that we really appreciate that you hold grace for us because, we have improved over the last 2 years, and I'm sure in another 2.5 years we'll look back and we'll have improved a lot as well. So again, thank you for the feedback.
Talking of people going back and listening, this was something that we just loved. One listener listened to around 100 episodes in just 10 days.
Amazing.
That's a total binge.
That is
incredible. Like, it's a wonder that you still like us. I'm not sure if I spent 10 days with Kirsty and I where I'd come out sane. So good job. 100 episodes in 10 days is probably the biggest binge that we've heard of.
The next thing that I wanted to address is that people love true examples and our clients' examples. And we just wanted to say that we will never disclose identifiable details from a client without their permission. So if you ever hear us talking and name dropping somebody, it's because we've been given their permission. It's not, so don't ever worry about having us into your home as a virtual client or in home, and that you'll be spoken about on this episode in identifiable ways. And now I know that can sound a bit tricky because you might know. You know it's you. Because you know your story.
Yes. But
the way we speak about it is never so that people can go, oh, I know that person too. They we don't give that much detail that your friends and family who are listening will go, oh, that's definitely my friend, unless of course you've told them that you've had us in, and then they might be able to identify you. But your girlfriend at school that doesn't know that you've had us in won't go, oh, that's Kathy. So we don't do that, and that's part of the confidentiality that we have with our clients.
And it's the same with before and after photos. So if you see us post them up on social media, there's permission granted by the people who we take those, but we don't take it with the photos of your kids in the background or your school uniform or your work bag or your face or your street name. In our Insta stories, we always, every day that we're out with a client, we say where we are. You'll notice that's never the front of someone's house. So we want to share where we are, we want to share what we're doing, but we also want to keep your confidentiality if you want it.
Yes. We had lots of people asking or talking to us about the specific areas versus the general mindset topics that we do, and people absolutely love the specific areas. And
so that's more like kitchen, garage, pantry, bathroom, kids' artwork. Those are the specific areas. What kind of episodes will come under general mindset topics?
Like grace and freedom and judgment, and some of the ones that we're doing today as well.
Yep.
So we've done our first 75, 100. We're very topic-based, area-based, and as we are growing and learning, and as we are developing our own practice in business and the journeys that coming up with our clients. So we often, when we sit down to decide what episodes we're going to do, we look at the list that you guys have all provided us with on the topics that you would like, but we also talk to things that are interesting to us and that have come up for our clients recently. So that's why when we get in here and do 8 episodes, it's based around that. And we just wanted to encourage you that if you're on the journey and you need some specific areas, go back and listen to the specific areas. We did have some requests for some micro, so maybe, in the future we'll pick 5 areas that are specific and combine them all into one episode so that we talk about give me some ideas, Amy.
Are you talking like pens,
Yeah.
hair ties,
Yeah.
nail polish,
Yeah.
some really specific micro declutters.
Yeah, so we could maybe combine them all into one episode because as much as Amy and I can talk, sometimes we find it really hard to talk about nail polishes for 30 minutes, 45 minutes.
Don't forget you can use the search function on our website as well. So if you are looking for a particular topic, just go to artofdecluttering.com.au. Under the podcast tab, you can just search, and so you can find a particular topic that you're after. When you get that notification and that new episode pops up into your podcast app, are you someone who will automatically listen, or do you look at it and think, oh, that's probably not relevant to me, and then you don't listen that week? Because what we want to encourage you is, someone said to us the other day in our Head, Heart and Home course, they said the episodes that I think are not going to be relevant to me are often the ones that are the most impacting. And I've been ruminating on that. And I think sometimes when you're not trying to listen to the nuts and bolts, you get a revelation of something deeper, and you can actually hear the overtones or the undertones, or however it works, of the overall podcast message, rather than, oh, that's the exact container I should get to store my kids' artwork. You're thinking, oh, I wonder what the artwork I had and why have I done this? And you start to think deeper. And so on those episodes where you think, it's probably not for me, listen to them, give them a crack, because we really do think that there's gold in every episode for every person. It would just be different.
Yes, exactly. I love that. I love the way that you describe that.
That's what rumination does.
Speaking of giggling, I just giggled and I wanted to address my giggling. That was some of the feedback that we had, that my giggling is girly and little childlike, which is fine because it is what it is.
Yeah.
And that it can come across as patronizing sometimes, which I sincerely apologize for. That's not my heart and never my intention. When we were discussing this, I was like, oh, I think, because when I listen to them, I think the same. I'm like, oh, Kirsty, that was so inappropriate. But I also know the context in which, and I know what was happening in my head and my heart at the time when I was giggling. Yeah, so I just wanted to ask you to extend your grace for me when you think that I'm being patronizing, because that's never, ever my heart.
And I think too, like if you saw either of us in a public speaking setting, or if you're in the studio with us, there's so much more to be expressed. Like, we're using our hands. Kirsty and I, we make eye contact for the entire time we're in the studio. Mm-hmm. And so the subtleties of language is communicated and lost often in podcasts. And I would say, Kirst, am I right that sometimes when we're lost for words, we're not quite sure what that next train of thought is? We don't have a script. Is we might say or we might leave a gap, or we might giggle. That's a really natural, not necessarily nervous, but thinking, and it's just an instinct.
And sometimes it is my nervousness coming out, not because of what I'm saying, but maybe because I'm trying to be careful in the way that I'm trying to say it. And so I can be giggling. The other thing that happens is that we might have said something funny but cut it out.
Funny but inappropriate.
Yeah, or we may have made each other laugh by doing something silly, like knocking over something, or and that actually might get cut out of the episode when we do the editing, but the giggle, the ending of the giggle remains because it's like it leads into something else, or Amy said something and so for whatever reason, I'm sorry if I've offended you. Again, it's never my heart to be patronizing, and never my heart to be to use giggling in a condescending, patronizing way. It's not my heart. I am human.
Full of joy.
I am full of joy. I giggle inappropriately and I giggle appropriately, but it may still offend. So I will do my best, and I will try to be the 42-year-old that I am. That has lots of joy.
Yes, we want lots of joy and laughter.
Giggle. And again, coming back to the fact that we are seen.
Yeah.
Like, it was beautiful that people were like, I love Kirsty's tenderness.
Yes.
Like, I love that she cries. And then we have an outlier in our friend who doesn't like it when I cry. And that's fine too. And that's the joy of podcasting too. If you don't like what you're hearing, you are free to turn off.
Yeah.
But I don't want you to turn
Don't
off.
turn off.
I don't
We
want,
love you.
Yeah, I don't want to be. I'm never deliberately offensive.
No.
So
Gosh, no.
I'm
no,
sorry.
No. So one of the other things, Kirst, so we're talking about the feedback on you specifically, is quite a few people said, can you explain what holding space means? So it's a term that you use and we use. What does it mean practically? Like, what are you inferring by that?
That's a great question. And when that person said that, I was all like, oh, how do I explain that? For me, it means that I sit with people and sit with thoughts and let people be. I just
Excellent.
let people hold space for their being, for their whole being, and let them be in their pain and in their sorrow, and join them in that if I need to. And so that's what holding space means for me. Is that what you think of it like, Amy?
I think so. And I don't think I'd ever heard the term before we started working together. How I picture it now is holding space, as in often it's holding silence.
Yes.
And it's being okay with silence, and it's not unnecessarily cluttering up space with words when space is what's needed. That's how I see it. So that's what we mean when we say holding space. It means that we are just there for you. It's supportive, and we're not trying to give you all the solutions and answers. We're just holding space. We're just there.
Yeah, and that's what we encourage you to do for your family members or friends who are needing that space to be.
Yeah.
That you are silent or you are comforting to them, and you don't have to offer all the solutions. You can just let them ruminate and come up with the solutions themselves, or have space to express what it is that they need from you.
Yeah. So, Kirst, you're awesome.
Thank you, lovely.
That's what the feedback came back as. We love Kirst. We love her heart. And I love your heart too. And let's go on to what they fed back for me.
Which wasn't very much.
Oh, that's
for
not true.
either of us.
Yeah, that's right.
For
We had
either
2
of us.
points really for each of us that was worth bringing up.
The themes.
So the first one for me is that I tend to get sidetracked a lot, and I don't stick with one train of thought.
That was for both of us, though.
Yeah, but let's be honest, I do it well. What happens in my brain does not slow down very often. So my mouth struggles to keep up and my mind struggles to keep up. So I will be speaking, and while the words are coming out, my brain's already onto the next train of thought.
Or the 20 thoughts ahead.
Yeah, and halfway through a sentence, I just change direction, which I can understand would be very frustrating. When you're listening to a podcast, you're like, can you just finish that sentence, please? And a podcast are not meant to be a space where you feel like you're rushing. Like, I feel like a podcast is like it's sitting and having a conversation. It's not listening to a monologue. So when I change thought quickly, I will try to finish my sentences and just take a breath. I'm just going to take a breath and try not to rush ahead of myself and leave you wondering what in the world my half sentences all mean when they're squashed together. The other feedback for me was that I can be quite black and white. Who would have thunk? Who would have thunk it? And that can be confronting and isolating for people. So I do, as Kirst said before, like, that's not my heart, and I apologise for times where you've felt ostracised because I've been so black and white, and you think you live in the grey, or as Kirsty calls it, the rainbow. You live in the rainbow in the middle. And so, yeah, I'm going to be more aware of not being black and white. I think that's what I'm here for, though. Yeah, and I think part of how different we are is I've taken on more of the black and white role than I would in normal life in this podcast because you live in the rainbow. And so it's about coming more to the middle. Yeah.
And again,
and being black and white when I am black and white.
Yeah. And again, we do want to grow and learn and change. And we also are really comfortable with who we are.
Brilliant, yeah.
And we don't want to apologize for who we are. We want to apologize when we've offended somebody by things that we can change.
Yep.
But we are who we are. You all love us, and we really appreciate that. And if you don't love us, That is also cool. You can just like us. That's cool too. Or you're always free to find another podcast.
Well, here, what we also did is we've cut out 5 beautiful messages of feedback that we got through the survey. We're going to read these out instead of an iTunes review at the end of this episode. So I'm going to start and we'll just go back and forth, Kirst. I think this one's from Karen. She says, I have you in my pocket while I declutter. My husband realises that it's interesting and a real thing, not just me ranting and nagging. I thank you for that. He even jumps on board and helps sometimes and now actually puts things away. We've had no wardrobe for over 9 months. That's a win. We are both happier about that. You could say things are better in the bedroom. She says, lol, thanks ladies for your inspiration, advice and laughter.
I love that you're having more fun in the bedroom. Just wanted to say a huge thanks to you both. This podcast started not long before I was diagnosed with a serious illness, which also impacted my mental health tremendously. This podcast has enabled me to move so much unwanted stuff from our home, tricky with 4 young boys, and enjoy the freedom that brings. I still have a long way to go, even though not a lot of new things are coming into the house. So don't stop making this podcast. Thank you, Jane.
This one's from Jania. It is an easy listen, it is lighthearted, and I never feel judged. It takes half the mental load off as the work is being done just by listening and getting a plan of attack. I like the encouragement. I like how the imperfect things are shared. I like that they support individuality and encourage people to find what works for each person and their home. I don't feel preached at as nothing is presented as a one-size-fits-all.
That made my heart sing.
Oh, it's so good.
And that's why this is that's the stuff that made us go, oh, yes.
This is why we do what we do.
We're seeing people see our hearts.
Yeah.
So Sarah says, very useful show and entertaining as well. You can really feel that you care for your clients and that your tips have a hands-on perspective. With your help, I minimized and reconsidered the stuff and the spaces in my house to ease the process of making it a rental and moving out. I usually listen while doing the chores around the house, binging the episodes. Hope this helps. Thanks for your help and company.
And the last one we've got is from Jacinta. She says, I cannot believe the relevance of your topics with my life. Each week, it seems like you know exactly what it is that I'm needing. It's almost scary. Maybe, Jacinta, we've got little elves, declutter fairies watching and just feeding back to us. This is what Jacinta needs this week.
So thank you for indulging us with our survey results. But as we said at the start, it wasn't just about us. We wanted you to know more about your fellow listeners and to see where you fit in our bell curves. So thank you again for the 156 of you who participated in our survey. And congratulations, Charlotte, for winning the prize.
Woo-hoo!
So thank you. We really appreciate it. And we will be doing another one in the future as well because it was super helpful to us.
We love you guys and we'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for joining us.
If you've learnt something awesome today, we'd love you to leave us a review on iTunes or Facebook so others can find our podcast too.
Don't forget you can see the show notes in your podcast app or over at our website artofdecluttering.com.au. So if there's anything you want more info on, check it out there.
If you'd like to join our supporter community, you can do so over at patreon.com/theartofdecluttering.
We hope you have a great rest of your day
and enjoy the freedom.
What does a truly exceptional education look like? Find out firsthand at the Eltham College Open Day, Saturday, February 29th. Pre-register at elthamcollege.vic.edu.au.